Good morning, beautiful people. It is Monday, June 22nd, 2020. All the boys are here. At Nick Moraldo wearing a shock shirt. At Tone Diggs is here. Ty Schmidt also wearing a shock shirt. Didn't get the memo, Diggs. That's a shame. Jason McAfee's here. Viva Lazito's here. Evan Foxy's here rocking a great athlete shirt. And on the phones, 1-833-622-3331, wearing a bandana on his head of a man who allegedly had a threesome with Johnny Depp's wife and another lady at Boston Connor.
Not too shabby. I don't think it was very alleged, though. I do think that happened.
No, we can't. We are a show. We are not 100%. People do listen. We cannot just say things are a fact unless we get video proof or evidence.
Fair enough.
So let's assume that is potentially going to come out at some point. But Boston Connor, how was your weekend this week?
I had a great weekend. We had a little bit of golf on Saturday. I watched a little golf on Sunday. It was bad. How was your weekend?
I had a pretty good weekend, man. I went golfing on Saturday, played 18 holes. First time I played 18 holes without being forced to play 18 holes, probably 10 years.
So did it go well?
Had a good time. Oh, yeah, I'm playing really good golf right now.
Few bombs.
I am playing very good golf right now. I'm only on my third outing here, too, this year. But I had something happen mentally, okay, for my swing that has completely changed everything. And I think this is potentially a problem for most people who are going to try to play against me for money. I do believe this is going to potentially be a problem. I mean, there was this one shot I took. I was probably 35, 40 yards out from the green. Oh. Maybe 10 yards away from a tree that was, I don't know, probably 40 foot tall, 50 foot tall.
Mighty oak.
Mm-hmm. I go right up over that thing, plug down right in the center of the green on purpose. On purpose. I got a little caddying from Nick from the other side of the fairway. He goes, move that ball to the front foot. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And I swung, same swing I always do. That thing went straight up, and it looked like it was like a heat-seeking missile right down in the middle of the thing. Put the club to my side, picked up my putter, just walked it off as if it was supposed to happen. I know that wasn't supposed to happen, but I did try to do that. That's where I'm at right now with golf. It's next level. I'm playing very good golf right now.
I can't remember. Are you one of the golfers, because there's two types, that gets worse as you play throughout the year or better throughout the year?
I get better.
Okay.
I get better.
So that's good.
I get better. Normally, it takes me a while, though. And normally I don't play enough. So I'll play like maybe 2 times a year. It'll be for a function and then like a tournament where there's a lot of like cameras on and things. That'll be the second time I play for the entire year. But whenever I get going, if I can get, I'm better as I go.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to figure it out.
I've noticed with you, like after 4 holes, you're locked in.
Yeah, first round, normally it's 6 holes, though. Normally, and those are tough 6 holes. Let's not get crazy. Those are a tough 6 holes. I probably already got to 100, but if you get me to like the back area, once I start figuring it out, for me, it's all here. It's all, if I can figure out what to say to myself right before the swing, and I've got there. I have found what to say, and the body's coming together nicely. Even after, 284 floors on the Stairmaster, another 130 yesterday for Father's Day. Did not want to do it yesterday. Did not want to do it, but I had to do it. Didn't want to do it. Had to do it.
For the fathers.
Because I ate for the fathers. Happy Father's Day, by the way. If we missed it, happy Father's Day to old Tim McAfee, all the other people out there that are also to the moms that are acting as fathers. Happy Father's Day to everybody who's playing the father role. We appreciate the stepfathers, okay? All the fathers, happy Father's Day. I did 130 floors for you yesterday, also so I could eat like a pig. Had my first cheat day yesterday, and it was bad. It was bad. Anything could get it yesterday. And now my butthole is feeling it. This morning has been a rough one, but I cannot wait to start talking with the sports. Speaking of a rough morning, this guy has them all the time at Mullet Mitt, Intern Mitt. How's it going, pal?
Very good.
Good to see you. I see you got the Liquid Death hat on. That really cured your hangover yesterday, you said?
Yes, big fan. All in on Liquid Death.
Are you a robot? This morning, I talk in...
Sorry.
Momentarily.
Sorry.
Okay. I'm happy you're okay. Who is that? That Beto O'Rourke guy.
Oh,
The way he spoke was as if every word was popping up in front of him as he was speaking the sentence.
I don't trust those people because that's all they're doing is thinking about what to say and not actually saying things.
And by the way, I can respect whenever they speak like that. You don't trust them. But boy, for guys like us that just kind of it can really put you into some situations. All right. A lot of things happened over the weekend that we have to talk about. The AFL had a great weekend. For those that know, the AFL Sharon has captivated this office. Some teams won, some teams lost. The Collingwood Magpies, my team, sitting at number 2 right now, right behind the number 1 overall team in the standings, which is old Billy McComas' team, the Port Adelaide, or however the hell you call it. The Gold Coast Suns, which is Zito's team, they're sitting there number 3. The Brisbane Lions are at 5. The Northern Melbourne is with Gumpy. And then down there at the bottom, the Stooges. The Geelong Cats, which had one big game. Tony hopped on board because he thought they were going to win it all. They have turned out to be a stink fest thus far. They're in 10th. GWS, Nick's team, is also in 12th. 15th, West Coast. Throw it up, Connor. Throw up the W. Never catch one, though. Just catch the L's. And the Fremantle squad, which is the Detroit Lions of the AFL, which Evan felt attached to. Currently 0-3, dead last in the entire AFL. Foxy.
Yeah.
This weekend when Billy Tubes was just having his way with you in that AFL game.
Yeah.
Hey, bend over, Foxy, bend over,
Whoa,
do this.
whoa.
That's what he was doing to Evan Foxy. That's what Port Adelaide was doing to Fremantle. Is that at that moment you realize, like, hey, I was born in Detroit, so I was forced to be a Lions fan. This Fremantle team, and you keep saying Frio. I don't know what that means. You keep tweeting that.
Forever Frio. Hashtag Forever Frio. That's what all the supporters do, Pat.
You guys got a great little catchphrase, but the only thing that it should be is maybe never. And
No.
that is when will you win?
It's early, Pat. There's a lot of games left. I believe it's a 17-round season. Hey.
Detroit Lions,
Hey.
0-16.
Oh, no.
Don't start.
You get
No,
on
no, no, no.
You get on
Don't
this Forever
start.
Frio
This
squad.
weekend, just wash this weekend away because of those terrible conditions. It was storming the whole time. We got the reigning league MVP in Nat Fife. He's going to get the boys back on track.
I don't know how the reigning league's MVP is on a terrible team. I don't know how that happens. I respect it. He must be very good. But the rest of the team must be so bad.
They are.
The MVP is on the squad and they're still losing. Billy McComas' team had to deal with that weather that your team was dealing with, and they're just mentally tougher or whatever. But maybe the Frios, maybe the Fremantle squad, you don't know this. Evan Foxy is one of the reasons why the Lions went 0-16.
That's not my fault.
Here in America, there's only been one team that has successfully lost every single time they tried to play a game, and that was the Detroit Lions. Whenever we were picking teams here, Foxy said he felt a connection with the Fremantle squad. I feel a connection to this team. Haven't won a premiership in 25 years. I feel a connection. Guess what? Your connection, Fremantle, it might be a shame here. The connection you have is with somebody who was openly a part in a problem and a piece of the only NFL team in history to go 0-16. Might as well just call in Orlovsky to start playing for your team, too. That is how close the Fremantle team is to potentially going completely defeated. And I would say it's not the Fremantle squad's fault. Forever Frio.
No.
I would say it's Forever Foxy.
No.
Yeah, that's
Do not
whose fault
put
it
this
is.
on me.
Yeah, it is. It's your fault if they lose it all.
Look, it's I don't know how AFL works, but I guess we had like the number 1 pick last year, and that guy's not even playing. Time to get him into the game. We got to go against Zito's Gold Coast team.
Oh, yeah.
This is a big week. This is a turning point for the franchise. Nat Fife's going to get the boys together.
I'll tell you, a lot of people this weekend tweeting me about how they don't have a clue what they just watched, but they love it.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to our world. That's where we have been for the last couple weeks now. It started all the way back at the beginning of the sports hiatus. I had no idea what I was watching, but it was unbelievable. Fast-paced, big hits, big bombs, and there's an American that plays over there who's good named Cockzilla, and sources are saying he's potentially back next week. Sources are saying he's potentially maybe coming back next week. Wow. Is that really a source then? I don't know. Maybe I just made that up. But there is a chance that he's potentially maybe coming back next week, and the Collingwood Magpies put on a demolition this weekend. Their team's getting hot. It's going to be nice to be at the top with my Sharon, with my Magpies, whenever the rest of you losers are looking up the hill at us, especially the Fremantle squad down there that's potentially Foxy's fault because they're completely defeated.
Hey, it has been pretty cool on Twitter, though, to get all these people from Australia tweeting at us being so
They're the
happy
best.
that we support their squad. It's awesome.
Very hospitable bunch
Yes.
down there. And I've seen a lot of the, because, I mean, every step we take, every word we may say about the FL of it, take it away, every word we say. Yeah, it gets covered over there. People are about sick of hearing me talk about AFL over there. And I can understand. Hey, by the way, I told you last week, if I was sitting at home and some Australian stooge popped on my TV, and it said, this guy picked this team to be his favorite team in the NFL. I'd be like, I don't give a damn what that guy said. But I do believe what had happened, you see, to the AFL is, for a long time, they were trying to make their mark in the United States of America, which I can understand. A lot of sports-loving fans. Also, NFL football is a very physical sport with a lot of action, and there's a lot of high flying, which is very similar to the AFL. So if you're running the business of the AFL, you're like, hey, if we can get to where all the NFL fans are, we think they will love our sport. But what happened was the rugby folks got in, and the rugby folks got in, and they entrenched their hands so deep into the pot, and they're like, listen, rugby's like football. Rugby's like football. And it's like, no. Rugby's like very old school football whenever they didn't know how to throw the ball, when they didn't know how to make insane catches up over top of things. Now, rugby's a very tough sport. I've always said I cannot play rugby. I'm not tough enough to play rugby, but my eyes can't stand watching rugby either. And rugby kind of snuck in. The AFL's been trying to get to America for so long, and they see us talking about it. They're like, hey, maybe this is our intro to maybe other Americans that could see our sport. So they're excited about it, and I'm appreciative of it, but I can see how a bloke over there is like, hey, listen, I'm done with this McAfee guy talking over there in America about this sport that's been around for 124 years. Fun fact, though, the AFL for a while was having 4 to 5 games in China in an attempt to grow their game into China, because I think they gave it a go in America for so long, kept getting shunned out because everybody thought it was just rugby from poor marketing early. They go to China to try to get it. They're like, hey, listen, if we pick up 0.01% of their population, we're in a great spot. I guess it did not fare well. I'm not 100% sure. If we can do anything to help the AFL grow, and it's not even about the AFL, no offense to the AFL. It's more so about people that watch this show. We want to give them something that we think they would enjoy, just like whenever we try to give them products, like, hey, this is something we think you would enjoy, and we want to be a part of it together. But we're happy and thankful that the AFL fans have been so welcoming to us, because damn, it is a great sport and a great league.
Now, it's awesome to see your videos being played in between quarters and
How about
commercials
that?
and stuff like that. And then apparently Gold Coast played Zito's hype video in the locker room before the game.
Zito's cutting by the way, Zito put it on another account. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Zito created it, put it on one of his burners.
so he wouldn't get-
So if he didn't know his relationship with Gold
Did
Coast
not know the relationship.
Zito was like, do I put this video? They might give me a strike. So he puts it on one of his burner accounts and then puts it over there. Zito and the Gold Coast Suns, by the way, they're in the top 5.
Yeah,
is that because of Zito's hype
Probably.
video?
They have never beat the Crows ever in history, and they did it this weekend.
It was a great weekend. Great weekend.
Ever.
Even though we lost, it was, I mean...
Tone, I really do enjoy just adding you in all your teams.
Well, I mean, the Blues came out hot, and they were catching a bunch of hangers, and they were playing the footy well. But then the boys decided to wet the sails, and the comeback was on.
my God.
I mean, but Gaz missed a sitter. But we go into the G this weekend, and we come out of a victory there, and the granny hopes are back on.
Yeah, GF, big deal, by the way. And I think your team kind of fell out of the GF with that ass beating they took this weekend. GF, not girlfriend, by the way. Grand final.
Yeah, of course.
Grand final.
Oh, yeah.
I was very confused there for a little bit, but what was that? What was everything you just
What do
did?
you mean?
Everything you just did.
Talking
there.
about how we wet the sails.
Nah,
and
yeah, but it was
how
it wasn't.
Gaz and Duncan missed a couple sitters.
Yeah, but it's just like everything you just did there. Hangers you dropped in there. I mean, there was a lot that you did there.
You know me.
Yeah, I know you. Yeah. What, did you get a pandering handbook?
Oh yeah, I got an Aussie pandering handbook, and it's gonna happen.
Hey, Mitt, your team, Bulldogs, good.
Pretty good.
Kid with the mullet, Bailey Smith, stud. He is very, very good. And that mullet's only getting better and better. Now, yours has somehow stopped growing, which none of us understand because you're only 21 years old. Your hair should continue to grow. Your mullet is fantastic. But this Bailey Smith guy, Western Bulldogs, great hair, great flow. And they're a good team, by the way. They might be a problem in the end of this whole thing. And nobody's really taking it serious because it's Mitt's team.
Yeah.
But they might be a real team to play with in this whole thing.
Yeah, but if it's Mitt's team, I mean, they're probably going to be boozing by 2 rounds from now. So
I
who
think that's
cares?
kind of the norm, though.
Yeah.
I think that is kind of the norm. Was that your guy, Zito, that was 18 years old?
Yeah, Matt Rowell.
Matt
Rowell.
Raw. Zito.
Yeah, off foot too. He did that.
Yeah,
50
lefty.
plus.
I saw him hit a little lefty
That
there.
was insane.
Wide open. No goalie in the box, though. There,
Yeah.
just kind of had to sneak it in there. I don't know any of the slander. I didn't get the pandering handbook that Diggs got.
Yeah, can you forward that to all of
Yeah,
us?
I will.
Can you send us a pandering handbook,
I will.
maybe?
I noticed when they go for the goals on the free kicks, they hold the ball on top.
Yep.
And then I noticed when we were watching the video, you do that as well.
Yeah. I hold it one-handed.
Yeah,
They held it two-handed. I think it's a little bit more control. And then sometimes people hold it by the side. I go like this right? So I go like this whenever I'm in, and this is how Americans hit pooch punts. So it's like shorter punts. And now, granted, there used to be the coffin corner where you would hit it standard style, where you'd be trying to turn it over like this, and you'd be aiming for something in the corner. But to do that in the American football, in the NFL, you have to kind of step out of your pocket to get to that angle wherever you want to go out of bounds. And whenever, the game evolved, there became these guys that were like 6'5" and became incredibly good at a dip and rip, and they run like 4.4 somehow. So whenever people started rushing hard off the edges, the coffin corner punt kind of became obsolete strictly because the risk and reward of it all was, would it go out of bounds at the 10? Maybe. Would it go out of bounds at the 15? Still maybe. Would it go out of bounds at the 5? Possibly. But could that thing get swatted back in your face and taken the other direction? Maybe. So those are all things that people had to think about. So what happened, I think Darren Bennett brought it over here whenever he came to the Chargers, I believe. Whew. I think so, yeah. He started hitting this, they called it a rugby ball, is what all the commentators called it, but it was actually an Aussie rules kick where you hit it end over end, and you can kick this thing as hard as you possibly can. It won't go as far. And the hopes is you'd be able to hit it just like you bring out a wedge. You'd be able to pooch it short, and it'd either be fair caught or whenever it hits, you have a much more favorable bounce percentage, okay? So in the AFL, they do that as they're passing. So they do the pooch punt as they're passing. It goes nowhere near as high as it does in the NFL. It's just kind of like a slap throw, push forward thing. But for me, whenever I saw a lot of people doing it, they were holding it like this, and there's people holding it like this, and all that stuff. But for me, I just felt more comfortable doing this. But if you get a little bit of moisture on that ball, I'll tell you what, she gets slick. She does get slick. So people always saw me lick. Like I licked my fingers a lot, like Dan Marino, like Drew Brees. Like I licked my fingers a lot because when you're holding a ball with just your fingertips here, if that thing was to fall out, you're talking about catastrophic events potentially with my head down, everybody coming in. So the only key is to drop it. But that's why I got good at this ball, is because I started doing it on the field for the Colts all over the place, not just pooch. So then when I started looking at the Aussie rules football players, I'm like, oh, I've done all of those kicks, but with an NFL ball, which is a little bit, tougher to kick. It doesn't have as big of a sweet spot. So I thought I would be able to transition to bombing an AFL ball pretty well. Turns out I was right. This ball is absolutely a slaughterhouse of a ball if you were a kicker. I mean, it says crafted by hand, loved by foot, or whatever. Thomas William Sharon said that. That's our tagline. He was not lying. This thing flies. And I guess this is just a gift shop
that's a
ball.
gift shop merchandise ball.
Not even a real ball.
It's a small. They said it's what I was reading on the internet. That's small too.
Smaller and lighter,
Yeah.
I think. And a lot of people would be like, well, if it gets bigger and heavier, it's harder. False. If you have a big leg, if it gets heavier, it actually goes further. That's like using a bigger bat. It might be harder to swing, but if you get on that thing, it's gone. So I was hitting this thing like probably 75, 80 yards. If I didn't
Into the wind?
I didn't map it out. Yeah, and I didn't even know there was a little bit of a breeze going there. I couldn't even fathom what I could do with one of the big ones, but I love this sport. I absolutely love it. And I don't think the love and the passion for the game is going to disappear because it's on at times. There's no other sports on when you're actually trying to figure out what the hell to watch. Boom! There's a couple blokes down there and under. They're just slaughtering each other when their toilets flush the opposite direction.
Do you think these guys have a tough time hitting like the torpedo, like a spiral? Because it seems like we don't see that very much. And when we were out there doing it with you,
it was all I did.
Yeah.
Or is it less accurate for them?
That's what I think. The percentages are a lot lower. So if you have a punter that's inconsistent, the easiest way to make him more consistent is have him just hit this punt because it's very consistent. There's a lot bigger spot to hit. All you got to do is hit, just kind of swing through it, and it's going to go. Now, will it go far? Who knows? But it won't be like a 7-yard, 10-yard, 15-yard. It's going to go at least 30 yards, right? So if you have a punter who's a head case or in the middle of something, he's like, oh, he can't find it. Let's just go end over end. There's plenty of times whenever I would be going, whenever I was with Mitt's dad, Tom McMahon, where I wasn't turning it over for whatever reason. Just I couldn't find it that day. So we just went left all day, and I just hit the end over end thing just because it's like a fallback security blanket. It's like this is going to be easy to hit regardless, no matter what. Over there, I got a lot of people in the comment section of the video that we put up on YouTube. They said that the managers probably won't let you use torpedo as much, probably because the risk reward of it, you can potentially hit a complete shank and kind of slow down everything when everything's a groove. But I think I'm at the point where, I feel very good about the old torpedo. And I would assume there's some guys in the AFL that hit great torps, but I think it's one of those things where somebody has to give you like the okay, like, yeah, you're good enough to do it. Because this is such an easier ball to control and to kick. But for me, if you can control it and kick it like this, why not just add another 60 yards onto it? I mean, that's just kind of how I look at it.
Your brain was also very correct. Darren Bennett was known for kicking long goals, torpedo punts. He was the two-time leader in goals for Melbourne. And then he came over to the NFL to the Chargers, was a two-time Pro Bowler, two-time All-Pro.
He was very, very good. He kind of set the trend, I think, for a lot of the different kicks and stuff that the American punters started to use, because they have that sideways ball that they hit it. I always thought it was called a chopper. They call it, I forget what it is, a banana ball, I believe is what they call it. The guy hits it sideways. We use that. And then the ball that Johnny Hecker hit that I talked about where he was laying it completely sideways, and I broke it down about how the risk reward on that, he ended up pooching it. That ended up being a Wall Street Journal article, the first video I ever made of somebody. You're welcome, Johnny Hecker. You deserve it. But there's been a lot of correlation between the two. And I think Aussies have brought a lot to the American punters, but I think there's some that we could bring over there too that make that torpedo just a little bit more consistent. Hey, hold on to that thing a little bit longer. Drop it a little bit lower. Kick that son of a bitch right out of your hand, basically, and that thing is going to go, because it doesn't matter the hang time. There's the hang time does not matter. It's just all about getting from A to B. Yeah. So you can hit a little low rocket. I'm telling you. I'm not. I'm telling you. I'm not. If I knew this sport existed in high school, I don't know if Coxzilla would have been able to have the title of the first American to do well in the AFL. I think I was literally built for this sport. I actually do believe that.
You just made a lot of tremendous points right there. I want to remind you of two things. This Friday at 5:50 a.m., the Collingwood Magpies take on the GWS Giants.
Well, the problem with that is the GWS Giants, everybody knows a bunch of goons out there. Might as well just be the goon.
No class.
WS Giants.
They're going to go after Coxie.
Yeah, they're going to go after Coxzilla, which that's this week. Yeah, my sources say potentially next week.
Okay.
Thank God. They're probably keeping them out strictly because of the GWS Giant boys.
Smart, good idea. And then also, I am morally obligated to remind you that the Cleveland Browns also went winless in 2017.
Oh, two teams. That's on me. It's not just the Lions. It was almost the Colts, too. I was almost part of a team.
Nah, you guys
weren't, though.
We weren't.
There was a lot of teams that almost did it.
Lot of teams.
Only two that did.
Fremantle team?
Whoa, no. Lions and Browns, good class right there.
All right, let's get to a break. 21 minutes after the hour. On the other side, real conversations to be had. Dak Prescott is allegedly elected to sign his $31.4 million franchise tag with the Dallas Cowboys. They have until July 15th to negotiate a long-term deal. If they can't get it done, he will play on that franchise tag for $31.4 million this year, guaranteed. It's a lot of money, man. That is a lot of money, man. But he deserves more. He knows it. He wants it. Will they be able to get a long-term deal done? I don't think so if he signs a franchise tag. But everybody's saying yes, he will be able to. So, I mean, what do we know? We'll talk about that a little bit more in depth. And in the NASCAR world, Bubba Wallace's garage had a noose in it this weekend in Talladega. Just a despicable thing to happen to Bubba Wallace, to happen to anybody. We'll talk about that on the other side as well. 1-833-622-3331. 22 minutes after the hour here on this June 22nd. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Let's test out this Sharon! Proper footy. Seems like it has a bigger sweet spot. That's the greatest sport on earth right there. Aussie rules football, also known as footy, AFL. My first time bombing in official shorts that are a little bit restricting. I think I lost a ball, to be honest. Might be a Lance Armstrong situation down here, but I can see why this sport is beloved, because those balls fly. Need to get down to Australia, meet up with the Magpie boys, and finish out this AFL season as maybe its biggest fan in America. Let's have it. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. Talladega, Razor. Here's the Talladega. Talladega is a song, right? That is a song, right?
Air Church.
Air Church. That is a place right now of one of the most, I'm trying to figure out the right word, because it's obviously disgusting, despicable, but this is an eye-opening headline that we all saw this morning whenever we woke up, that a noose was found in Bubba Wallace's garage. And for those of you who have ever been around a race, like for us here at the Indy 500, I've gone to it a couple times. Probably will never go again, but I've gone to it a couple times. And to get to the garages, to get to where the cars are, which I don't know how much NASCARs are, but I do know in Indy, each car is worth over $1 million. To get to the garages where the drivers are, where the teams are, where the cars are, where whatever the owners, however much money they're paying to be there, they are. To get there, you have to get through like 7 different layers of these yellow shirt bumps that you have to get through, okay? Your things are getting checked at every single, maybe 4 feet that you walk, you're getting checked. And if you're in there roaming around, even after you've gotten in there, you're getting checked again, because there is so much money in those garages, right? And obviously, we're in a very different time where outside of those garages, there isn't just absolute pandemonium of drunks everywhere, which is what the infield of a racetrack looks like normally. It's just pandemonium, good time, people having a blast, getting after it. So I would assume that's why those garages have to be locked down even more, because once old buddy just did a 6-beer bong, and then maybe a dizzy bat, and then a Louisville slugger, and then he comes through, does a flip cup game, a beer pong game, maybe pops an Adderall and says, "Yeah, I will go see my favorite favorite driver, and tries to get into where the garage is, there's a problem. So it's locked down. So to get into the garages, and I'm just going off of what I know here at the end of it, I had a car in the race. I couldn't get in. I paid $250,000 to start a company that didn't exist so that our friend could race in the 100th running of the Indy 500. Shirtsforamerica.com. Now, that car would get cucked by Lily like 2 days before the race happened, and they would have tickets to the race, and I would be outside their street, sitting across the street and all that. But I had a car in the race, and to get into the garages, it was as if I had to do some death-defying stunt to get in there. I'm like, no, I actually paid for something. You're drunk. Well, yeah, but I still paid for something in there, and I have all the credentials to get in there. So what I'm saying is, whoever got into this garage and did this to Bubba Wallace is somebody that has all the credentials. Now, unless they came in through a chopper, unless they came in through the top, this is somebody that had to know somebody to get in there, or maybe it was one of the yellow shirts that is sent out there to protect it. But with the amount of money in those garages, with the cameras on, with all of that, not only, obviously it's disgusting, despicable to even do that, especially in the time that we're in right now, where it feels as if the world is coming together more so than ever before. It feels like the world is being more educated on things. We feel like we're doing this. So to do that, this is somebody who wants to get caught. Is what it sounds. This seems like somebody who wants to get caught. This seems like somebody who wants to be like, yeah, that was me. I did that, because they feel as if they're some hero amongst some crew of humans, by the way, who are despicable humans who are always going to exist, by the way. That group of people is always going to exist. There's never going to be anything that's going to change them. I wish there was a way to change them, and I just don't think. I mean, I've watched enough, I feel like, daytime talk shows that in my life, I'm not talking about now, but in my life, that those humans are always going to exist. I wish they didn't. I wish that was the case. But I think now, I hope that we are more together than we've ever been to understand that act was done by somebody that none of us like. Like that person, that act was done by somebody who knows they're going to get caught. That act was done by somebody who, whenever they get caught, they feel as if they're a hero amongst their little idiot group. But that act is done by somebody that none of us like. And I think it's something that Bubba Wallace, I assume in the racing business, in the NASCAR business, in the trips that they go and the places they go, that he potentially encounters this group of idiots that we all don't like. At this point, I think more and more people don't like them, by the way. I feel like through his racing career, he's probably encountered a lot of this. Doesn't deserve it. But, man, I'm happy that Bubba Wallace is going to get out there and win the damn race now right after this happens. Just like Dale Jr. said, I hope Bubba goes and wins it. I do hope Bubba goes and wins it. And I hope that person that gets caught, who feels like a hero, ends up getting his ass kicked by somebody, because that's literally the only thing that'll be able to change this whole thing.
Well, that's what, like, you're like, what does this accomplish?
Nothing. It accomplishes nothing.
NASCAR has already said, too, like, okay, yeah, this guy's going to get fired and is going to be barred from the sport for forever. So, like, at the end of the day, like, what, I mean, did they think that this maybe would cause him to be like, all right, I can't race today. Can't do this. Like,
yeah, like, you think Bubba's that weak? No, Bubba knew as soon as he put Black Lives Matter on there, and as soon as he came out and spoke out, and as soon as NASCAR finally decided to officially ban Confederate flags, I would assume that Bubba Wallace, by the way, Bubba Wallace doesn't deserve to have to feel this way, but I think Bubba Wallace knew, okay, here we go. I'm tough enough. I can take this. I would assume, knowing what he's going to do. It's an uncomfortable situation, especially in a sport that revolves around and is located in a place that potentially has some sort of connection to a flag for a lost cause still to this day. Some people do. It makes no sense to me. I'm from Pittsburgh. Okay, I'm undefeated in wars against the South. I have no idea why you would want to continue to hold on that. They say, well, it's heritage, it's this, it's that. Well, that feels like you're kind of trying to spin it in a different direction from what it actually was. But you got to remember, those people are never going to change. It's a shame. It is. I wish they did. I wish they would. But there is always going to be a select group of people that are idiots. And those idiots, at least one of them or two of them, who knows how many is going to get caught for this, because there's no way they don't have cameras on this entire thing.
Especially, like, I mean, with COVID and everything, like that, just it minimizes
a third of the people.
Exactly. Like they're going to find out who did this almost immediately, and who
How
knows?
cool did that guy feel, though? Like, after he did it, he went home. He goes bound, whatever, campfire, whatever the hell they're doing. I did it. I did. I went right in there, and I put a noose in his garage. And somebody at that thing was probably like, well, why'd you do that? Let them know. Can't fly a Confederate flag, can we? Well, we kind of have one over our camp right now, though. Well, yeah, you get it, though. Like, yeah, you get it, though. He's like, well, don't you think they're going to catch you? I hope they do. And then what's going to happen? Well, I'm never going to be allowed back in a NASCAR race again, which is the only thing I really like. I'm probably not going to be able to do anything in this out. I mean, don't ask me questions, okay? I can't fathom how stupid you have to be to do this. And more power to Bubba Wallace to be able to just be like, yeah, I'll just go win the race. It doesn't matter.
Hats off to NASCAR too for being swift and being like, hey, we're not putting up with any of this BS.
I feel like NASCAR has been, especially in these last couple months here, last month, where we're in a interesting time to be alive. I feel like NASCAR understands that, hey, although maybe some of our regulars are going to hate this, we hope to open this sport up to a lot more people and make it a more inclusive one. And sometimes to do that, you got to piss off some people, and it feels like the people that are getting pissed off are the people that you probably don't want supporting your organization anyways, the people that are potentially going to go in there with a noose. Jussie Smollett was trending this morning because there was a lot of people that are like, oh, it's probably fake, like the Jussie Smollett situation. Let me tell you about Jussie Smollett's situation. That situation set back race relations probably 10 to 15 years because it was a bunch of BS. But let's not act like just because one thing like that happened doesn't mean everything else happened. People are trying to say that Bubba Wallace did it himself or something like that. Like, come on, dude. Like, come on. You can't be that dumb. You can't. You literally can't. But it's a lot easier just to be like, you know what? Probably fake. Probably fake. No, that didn't happen. That's probably just a fake thing. Let's just move on. Let's just act like it didn't happen. So NASCAR is going to handle this situation. This guy's going to get caught. He's going to get banned. He's going to get moved on. Let's hope Bubba Wallace wins the damn race down there in Talladega. Here's the slowing down, turning up. And cars go real fast. Go round. Talladega. No, it's in Alabama.
Yeah.
I would have bet
Talladega?
Wait, what?
You would have bet
Florida.
Yeah.
Well, I would have bet everything I had that Talladega was
Is
in
that because
Florida.
of Tallahassee?
Could be.
Potentially.
I think I just
love
assumed with
Tallahassee.
Daytona down there, Talladega was down there.
I
as
thought
well.
so too. Talladega's in Alabama.
That state cannot fit Daytona and Talladega.
Hold
I'm
on,
afraid.
didn't McGee? Somebody said something about Marty and McGee have gone through it now. Here, yeah, Marty was on SVP last night, pissed off, and his southern draw. I feel like he feels NASCAR's at a place where it can really get going. But somebody said something about not at Talladega. It was either Talladega or Daytona. This won't be happening, and then something bad happens. But we have to remember we are in a period of time now where the idiots are going to get spotlighted. That's just the way it goes. And it's good for all of us as we kind of move forward and be like, yep, those are the idiots right there. See it? Right there. Let's put a circle on that. There's the idiot right there. Get him the hell out of here. Get him out of Alabama. Talladega, Alabama. Never knew that.
No, that's crazy.
I learned that this morning. Hey, as I was scrolling through to John, I was now in Talladega, Alabama, blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
Excuse me?
Excuse me. I would like to hear this story, of course, because this sounds despicable. But I mean, I will get back to you in a minute. Talladega's in Alabama. I did not know that.
They need to do a better job of marketing than that's in Alabama.
Well, I think all they market is just Talladega.
Yeah.
Just Talladega. By the way,
If you know, you know.
there was an entire movie.
Yeah.
About the Knights.
Thought it was in Florida. Still to this day,
So
thought it
right.
was in Florida. 37 minutes after the hour, we got to get to a break at youtube.com/The Pat McAfee Show. We'll be answering some phone calls. 1-833-622-3331, Monday, June 22nd. Feel free to join us over there. We'll be back on the other side talking Dak Prescott. Now, there's been a lot of sports talk shows who've been talking about Dak Prescott's franchise tag for the last 3 months. We're here to tell you, on the other side, we're talking about it. This is The Pat McAfee Show. Talladega, Alabama.
Who would have
the map?
thought? Close to Atlanta.
Holy shit. Okay, so
That helps. I don't know if you want to zoom in more.
no, zoom out there. Zoom out there. Okay, so Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. See, that is a part of the map where if you gave it to me, I'm not sure I'd be able to fill it in. You know what I mean? Like I think I could do a lot up there, up where Connor's from. I think I could do well there just because you go off of the small one. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
Rhode Island's here, Connecticut's here, Massachusetts
Yeah,
here.
best
You do-
states.
yeah, Vermont. What's that?
What?
What'd you say?
You said you could tell like the top right corner of the map because of the best states, cool states.
No. Just because.
What?
No, well,
That's what you said.
I had a cousin who lived in Vermont for a while, so
Cool
I
guy.
went up there every once in a while. It's a she too. I mean,
Cool girl too.
Yeah, you're sexist. That's part of the problem, by the way, with
Connor.
said part of the map.
Really? That's what you think?
top
Yeah, that's
right.
well. You just. I don't think anything. You just kind of.
When you said cousin, I just assumed he was a guy cousin.
you just problem. That's the problem.
Why is that a problem?
That's what we're talking about. That is what we're talking about.
I only really have cousins who are men. It's not my fault.
See, just so now you're just deflecting and blaming other
the
things.
camel men produce
Get
men.
back to the map, please. Can we please get back to the map? But that southern one, I'm not sure. I think I'd be able to go Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida. Like I'd be able to knock that one out. But north of Florida, south of Tennessee, and then east of, let's say, Texas and Oklahoma there, I wouldn't have been able to get. That whole part, I don't think I could on a map tell you like
I
that.
had
the
no
Missouri-
idea Memphis was that far over in Tennessee. I mean, that is the crown jewel of the South right there, Memphis. I didn't know. I mean, it's really far
The
over.
Missouri, Arkansas, Mississippi. Couldn't even imagine where those states were.
Missouri's left of us.
Apparently,
Yeah, apparently. No, Missouri's like Midwest. I feel like Arkansas is a southern state. Everybody
is,
knows that. So you just started ranking in like, well, I'll tell you what, North Dakota, Missouri, and Tennessee.
Hey,
I couldn't-
Missouri's SEC.
Yeah, but it's a Midwestern state, though. You know that. Let's get to the phone, shall we?
Just found out where Iowa was.
Yeah, I used to think it was in Montana.
Yeah.
You thought Iowa was Montana?
Yeah, like I'm. This isn't even a joke. Like 3 weeks ago. I think.
How about South Dakota? South Dakota, you know what's there? Fucking haymakers.
Oh, jeez.
Dude, what was that
Big
dude's
fist.
name?
Dallas Goedert.
Yeah.
Dallas Goedert. He was at a bar in Aberdeen, South Dakota, they said. By the way, South Dakota State, let's go Jackrabbits.
There you go, Jacks.
Brookings, South Dakota, let's
Great
go
place.
Jackrabbits.
Get
We've
that
been
guy
there.
on the
Good
D-line.
people. They go to the bar this weekend. Dallas,
Goedert.
who plays
Eagles, tight end.
Eagles tight end, he was at a bar over there in Aberdeen, South Dakota. He's just hanging out. Somebody gets up in his face. He goes to push that person out, and all of a sudden he catches a fucking yeah from his left. He's down here in the corner. Excuse me. Bang!
And he's a big boy, too.
Big boy. But if you look, he turns right into it.
does.
Pause. Ooh,
Short hair.
it's all right. Go back. This guy, what's he doing? Look, he looks right into it, okay? So he's holding a drink in the left hand. Classic, get out of my face with the right hand. A little bit of a peek there on the hair. Not a great angle for the guy, but he gives a little push off. He turns left. Doesn't even know that old buddy's friend's coming in. By the way, everybody in this bar knows who Dallas is.
Yes.
Okay, everybody knows he has money. Everybody knows he plays for the Eagles. Everybody knows he thinks he's a big shot. Dallas probably doesn't have a clue who any of these fucking people are. He turns to his left and... Suckhole. See you later. Crow hop right through his face.
Yeah, he was second round pick by the Eagles. He went to South Dakota State. So,
Jackrabbits.
and he was from North Dakota. So he's familiar with the Dakotas.
Oh, he's from North Dakota though.
I'll tell you what though, that guy caught that thing clean there.
Right on the button.
And that was one of the straightest punches I've ever seen, by the way. That guy, that's where you keep all your power in there. If you ever go to one of those bars that have the little punching bag thing, keep that thing tight. That guy, couldn't even tell you how boozed up he probably was at that time. Do they have a clock on that thing? Do they have a clock on that thing?
Bottom right.
Hey, by the way, it doesn't matter how big, how strong, how tough, how rich you are. If you get hit flush right in the face, there isn't a lot you can do with that button thing with your whole consciousness disappearing. We did not get to a phone call because I just remembered that happened, but that poor fucking guy.
Do you think if he doesn't have beer in hand, he blocks it somehow?
Potentially, maybe he sees it late. I would like to know what time that was because that falls into this thing pretty big,
I'll
too.
do some research.
Yeah, maybe he was just drunk and fell. I mean, that's what I'm saying if I'm Dallas. That's a tough go there for the guy, though. South Dakota, you get got.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. During the break, we broke down Dallas Goedert getting sucker punched in his suckhole by a guy in Aberdeen, South Dakota. T's and P's to Dallas Goedert as he is rehabbing, I believe, from just one of the biggest sucker punches of all time. But he'll be okay. He's tough. He's from North Dakota, got knocked out in South Dakota.
By Bison.
Probably about, not by, we don't know if the guy was a jackrabbit or we don't know what he was in. He went to South Dakota State, though. Let's go to Luke over there in New Jersey. What's going on, Luke?
Lukey.
Luke, I'm your father.
Lukey.
Luke, you're about to get hung up on, Luke.
Cool glasses.
Thank you. I
Glasses,
appreciate it.
glasses.
I've tried to put them on there. Luke, this is one of the worst things I've ever heard in my life. Because he's there. We can hear him there. Is he just...
Is he on mute? Does he know?
This is your people, bro. Let's go to Tasty in Long Island. Tasty in Long Island. What's going on? Tasty.
What is up, Pat McAfee Show?
Hey, Tasty. We like the energy, Tasty. What's going on, Bob?
What's up, my dude?
What's
dude,
up?
You're the GOAT.
What do you say? Something.
All right.
You're the GOAT.
What I'm going to say is
I was like, I don't.
Jamal Adams is coming to Cowboys. We're going to get Dak Prescott back, and we're going to the Super Bowl, baby.
Okay, Tasty. I like that you're from Long Island and you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys. This weekend, Jamal Adams was riding around in a G-Wagon. I'm not 100% sure. I would assume it's down in Texas where he is originally from. And somebody in the parking lot yelled to him, "Let's get you to the Cowboys." And his response was this.
Hey, what's up, bro? Hey, you coming to Dallas? Hey, man, I'm trying, bro. All right.
He said, all right, I trust him. Okay, so he's in a jacked up G-Wagon, by the way. I respect that. Lift that thing up a little bit. G-Wagons are some of the coolest looking vehicles that have ever been created. Also costs $160,000 a pop, so good for Jamal Adams out there living good. He's down in Texas. I'm trying to get to the Cowboys, he said. He had 7 potential landing spots. The Dallas Cowboys were one of them. In the eerily similar and intriguing situation here, Earl Thomas at one point ran to the Dallas Cowboys locker room asking for the Dallas Cowboys to bring him out of Seattle to the Dallas Cowboys. It feels like people from Texas and players from Texas would like to at some point either get closer to home or play for the Dallas Cowboys. We're not 100% sure if Jamal Adams truly wants a new contract from the Jets or he just wants to be separated from the Jets eternally, because the Jets have a chance to stink for the next, 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Potentially. Sam Darnold could be the next great boy wonder who takes a team on his back and takes over. And Le'Veon Bell could potentially become the Le'Veon Bell from years past where he was able to make 10 people miss in one play somehow and become electrifying. And Braden Mann, the punter that they drafted, he could potentially be the thing that puts them over the top in the AFC East that no longer has Tom Brady or Gronk inside of it. So maybe the Jets do go on to become this great squad. But at the current moment, Jamal Adams says, hey, this team has stunk. I think this team will stink, and now they're disrespecting me business-wise. I want to get the hell out of here. He said there were 7 teams he would go to. His agent told Schefter, per sources, the Ravens, the Cowboys, the Texans, the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Niners, the Seahawks. There's not a lot of teams on there that have enough cap space to potentially want to make a play for Jamal Adams, who's due like $7.5 million next year. And the team that I am referring to in this exact point would be the Chiefs. They don't have enough money. Do the 49ers have enough money? Maybe. Do the Cowboys have enough money after this $31.4 million that Dak has allegedly already signed for in the franchise tag-wise? I'm not 100% sure. The Ravens could potentially bring him in. They got Lamar Jackson on a cheap contract still. Seahawks, I'm not sure they'd be able to. Texans, they got rid of DeAndre Hopkins, but I'm not sure they'll be able to. There's a lot of interesting cap situations here for Jamal Adams, but I think one thing's clear is he would like to play somewhere else, and it feels like the Cowboys are probably his dream destination.
Looking at this on the website, it looks like the estimated cap space for the Cowboys is around $10 million, but then the highest paid safeties are all making around 14 million. So
is that this year $10 million for the Cowboys?
Yes.
Well, how are they going to pay Dak Prescott?
That's after Dak.
Okay, so they have $10 million left altogether, and that also has to account for players that you get hurt potentially, maybe free agents, maybe signings in the middle of the year that you have to bring in. That $10 million has to be allocated to a lot of people, although Jamal Adams is only owed $7.5 million next year. They could technically afford him there and still have a couple million left on the other side. Maybe Uncle Jerry Jones makes the call over there to Gase and says, hey, we'll get that problem out of your office and out of your building that you don't want there anymore in Jamal Adams. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys, though. Dak Prescott finally has said, and it's alleged, that he's going to sign his franchise tag for $31.4 million guaranteed dollars next year. That is so much money. So much money, but not enough money to make up for what Dak Prescott has been able to do for the Dallas Cowboys the last 4 years as an underpaid starter who actually drove Tony Romo to the broadcast booth. Congrats, America. We should be thanking Dak Prescott for giving us the gift that is Tony Romo in the booths on Sundays and on Thursdays and whenever the hell else he calls anything. So I think Dak Prescott is at this point where, and I said this since the beginning, if I saw it, I did get franchise tagged. And the number was like $2.5 million or $2.75 million or something like that. And as soon as I saw that piece of paper that said, you are guaranteed to get $2.75 million in the next 365 days, I signed that thing as fast as I possibly could. I was in Canada. I was in Canada for Nick Morato's little brother's 19th birthday, and I said, send that thing over. I'll fax it back. I do not want to get any Canadian tax on this thing, but I would like to lock that son of a bitch in as fast as we possibly can before they decide to rip it up. Dak Prescott, obviously in a much different position than me. Dak Prescott, if he was to become a free agent, would be able to get all the monies from somewhere, not right now, but at the beginning of free agency, all the money somewhere. He has done a lot more for the Cowboys than I could ever and had ever done for the Indianapolis Colts. But I don't know how you look at a piece of paper that says $31.4 million guaranteed and say, nah, I don't want it. And then you start thinking a little bit deeper and a little bit bigger. Then you hear the thoughts that Patrick Mahomes could potentially get $200 million guaranteed. Dak Prescott's hearing that. Just had his best year last year. They could have had the contract done before last season. They said, nah, we'll make him prove it. He goes out and has his best year yet. And he's like, listen, give me my money. So now he's signing the $31.4 million. Everybody's saying it's because he's getting a read on the temperature of the world that we're in and the potential no fans and who knows what's going to happen to the salary cap going forward and all that stuff. He wants to make sure he locks in for 31.4. But will the Cowboys and Dak be able to negotiate a long-term deal after this? Is this Dak Prescott saying to Jerry, listen, I am investing in the Cowboys. I'm giving you at least another year with this deal. I would like to see you do it in return. Let's, in good faith, have a conversation here until July 15th when it's cut off. When you sign a franchise tag, July 15th, you can no longer have contract negotiations with the team until the end of the year whenever there's another opening period. So once you sign that franchise tag, it isn't like all year if Dak has a great first 5 games, they can be like, hey, let's rip this up and let's go bigger. That's not the way it works. They would have to get a deal done by July 15th or without it ever happening. Will they be able to do so? I'm just not 100% sure if that's the case or not. But I'm happy they got a quarterback and Dak Prescott back. Dallas Cowboys seem to be good. They can sign Jamal Adams still with that $10 million. They can trade for Jamal Adams and still afford him. The Cowboys are setting up to potentially build quite a monster down there. It's just whether or not Dak will be happy to be there whenever he finally gets there.
My question to you is, so people are saying that he's signing the franchise tender because of the uncertainty going on with COVID and everything like that. Potentially no fans, lower salary cap next year. But wouldn't you maybe, if you're Dak, take a little bit less per year to get maybe a $75, $80, $90 million guaranteed contract for the 5 years that the Cowboys want, so that you know that you have that much guaranteed versus next year if you go back into negotiations, everything falls apart. You have no idea what the offer is going to be.
Yeah, this goes back to Andrew Luck. When Andrew Luck was about to become a free agent, I said, Andrew feels like a guy he lives conservatively enough. The guy rode bikes around. He didn't have like flashy cars. He didn't have he was very conservative. The way he lived was not that of a man who needed $100 or $200 million. I thought there was a chance that he was going to be a guy who was going to say, hey, give me less money, let's make it guaranteed, and then build up a line around me, build up a team around me. And you're putting a lot of faith now in the team to do that with the money that you are choosing not to take, right? I always thought that was going to happen. I was like, maybe Andrew's the guy that'll do that. Maybe, say, hey, I see what's going on with all these rookie contracts and these underpaid quarterbacks, how they're building a team around, and we can maybe do that. And then I was informed quickly, like, well, the NFLPA would never let you do that because once you do that, they're going to expect the next player to do that and then the next player to do that. It's your job to kind of raise the minimum as much as you possibly can. Keep it going, raise the bar. So I'm not sure if Dak would ever do that or even be allowed to do that, especially with the representation that he hired that's known for getting as much money as possible from the teams. But if I get a fully guaranteed contract for over $110 million, and it's going to be hard not to sign it, especially if you're the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, because when you're the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, you're getting every endorsement that you could possibly want. And with Mike McCarthy coming in, who has done wonders with quarterbacks and offenses, Dak, we might not even have come close to seeing the best Dak yet, which is why Dak is potentially thinking, if I have to bet on myself one more time, I'll do it. But do we think that Dak stays with the Dallas Cowboys if he plays out this franchise tag? I'm going to say that's going to be hard to believe, that Dak is just going to forget all this and be like, oh, yeah, now that I've had to prove myself for 5 years, basically, I would love to stay here. Let's assume that there's a chance Dak gets plucked somewhere else, especially with a team maybe up there in one of those small states up in the East that has a lot of money next year.
Is Andy Dalton the future of the Dallas Cowboys?
I do not believe that is the case, but I mean, there's a lot to pan out here. They have until July 15th to work that out. Will they? I'm not sure. This could be detrimental for the next 10 years for the Dallas Cowboys. Is Dak your guy or not? They will find out. We're back on the other side for hour 2. We have Andrew Brandt joining us. This is the Pat McAfee Show, Monday, June 22nd.
Lakers, welcome to the Blender, the home of a team and a fan base on a playoff push the likes the world has never seen before. Crescent City, get on your feet for tonight's starting lineups, brought to you by Sprite, an incredibly refreshing drink. Starting at forward was the number 2 overall pick in the 2016 NBA draft. Now he's an NBA All-Star, Brandon Ingram. At forward, this man has been dunking on little white kids on the internet for 10 years. The incomparable, unstoppable 6'6" phenom, Zion Williamson. At center, standing at 8 feet tall, from Georgia Tech, number 22, Derek Favors. This man's family had a reality show in Lithuania. He was born and raised in LA, but he found his J in Vienna. Lonzo Ball. And the OG of the roster. On the court, he's a monster. Braids hanging, shots banging. It's not Drew, it's Drew Holiday. Let's get this done. Thank you very much. Go Pelicans. That's how you play basketball. Will be a 5-bowler from the Red Panda. Up we go. Yes! 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 Red Panda! mission accomplished, right? Come down, intro some players, throw some balls to Red Panda, fly back to Indianapolis. Success story, Foxy. What a fucking night.
Good morning, beautiful people. It is Monday, June 22nd. Hour 2 kicks off in beautiful fashion with all of the boys. At Nick Morado, rocking a PMI Zoo shark shirt. How was your weekend, Frankie boy?
Great weekend. Got to hit the links and then relax on Sunday. Got to watch the last episode of the Undertaker's Last Ride documentary and King of Staten Island.
King of Staten Island, you felt the exact same way as I did?
Pretty good. Pretty good. It was a lot more emotional than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, damn near cried at the end of the movie. Yeah.
Heavy, intense.
First 30 minutes, waste of time.
Yeah, they kind of pile on.
Yeah,
like
we
said,
get it.
to
He's a
make-
scumbag.
Yes.
Okay, let's shorten that down to about 4 or 5 minutes, and then let's get right into it. Because as soon as Bill Burr knocks on that door, it's a whole new movie. By the way, Pete Davidson, great actor in that movie after the first 34 minutes or whatever when they get going. I think that movie, great movie. I'm a big fan of that movie.
Everybody that was cast in there did a phenomenal job, I think.
Everybody?
I think so, yeah.
There was a couple people who only made appearances in the first 30 minutes. They just act like they weren't even a part of the whole movie. But I thought The King of Staten Island was a good movie. It was hyped up a lot, which was going to be tough to kind of live up to the hype. I think it did. But boy, 137 minutes is a long, long movie. You have to stick with it through that first 30 minutes. We've always said that. Now, let's move to The Undertaker, The Last Ride, Episode 5, which debuted yesterday on the WWE Network at 10 a.m. What a series. What an absolute series. Now, they've been filming this thing for a long time. The behind-the-scenes footage that we never thought we'd get to see. Both WWE opening the curtain and Mark Calloway, Undertaker, opening the curtain into his life is something that we never thought we'd see. It doesn't matter if you like wrestling or not. If you're a fan of documentaries and learning about the greats of the greats in certain things, this Last Ride was 1,000% worth a watch. I mean, I loved every second of it. And Episode 5 was the best episode of the entire series. He said that they were putting final touches on it on Friday whenever he talked to us, or on Thursday whenever he talked to us. I'm happy they put it together. That thing was beautiful. What was your favorite part of the entire thing?
Favorite part was watching the production and setup of the Boneyard match that he did at this year's WrestleMania with AJ Styles, hearing about how it impacted him with the coronavirus and they had to shoot off site and everything. The cinematic style match, obviously. I thought personally this is something that would be able to extend his career. It was interesting to hear from him and his words that he didn't like it as much because of all the starting and stopping, took a toll on his body, getting warmed up, cooling back down. It was rough on him.
They filmed until 5 a.m., the Boneyard match, and AJ Styles, whenever he watched the Broken Skull session, Steve Austin show on WWE Network, for the first time, Undertaker opens up and talks, kind of out of character. He's Mark Calloway talking to Steve Austin, and he alluded to how he might have a couple more runs. AJ Styles and his friends heard this, and AJ sent a message to Undertaker, was like, hey, if you're thinking about doing something, I would like to do something. And Undertaker, I guess, was like, I'm not ready yet. I think a lot of people would have liked to see them in the ring, but the Boneyard match was a hell of an alternative, the cinematic style. And whenever you watch it kind of get pieced together, you see Jeremy Borash down there, who's been around wrestling for a long time, a guy named Paradise who works down at the WWE Performance Center. Then you see Triple H in there kind of directing it. And I texted Mr. H yesterday after watching Episode 5. I said, for the last 10 years, Undertaker has been trying to find the perfect moment to retire. Undertaker has been trying to seek the right moment that lives up to the expectations of the Undertaker and kind of sets him off into the sunset and lets him sail off into the sunset. Triple H was down there producing this entire thing, and it was so damn good that the Undertaker looked at it and was like, that's good enough for me. I told Mr. H, I was like, I know you've accomplished the entire, you've done everything you could possibly want to do in this world. You're an international businessman at this point. You've done it all. That has to feel pretty good inside the business to know that the thing that you kind of put together was good enough for Undertaker to be like, you know what? that's good enough for me to kind of ride off into the sunset. It was a beautiful thing, man. Even people I think that aren't wrestling fans, if you watch that series, you'll be captivated by it because just all the nuances of the wrestling business, sports entertainment business. And I mean, it was awesome. I'm very, very happy they did it. And I enjoyed the hell out of watching that thing yesterday.
Yeah, and it was even more impressive to learn about his brother, who had passed away from a heart attack basically the night before they shot the match. So he's going into a match while knowing his brother is going to be buried soon in a match with all the funeral themes and the coffin and the casket and everything. And it's like, as much of a physical impact as that takes on, the mental impact has to be 3 times that, 10 times that.
Did you watch it at all, Ty?
No, not yet. I'm ready to binge it, though. I'm excited.
You are a big AJ Styles guy.
I am not. I hope he doesn't have a focal point in it. But.
Yeah, the last episode, you're going to watch it and be like, oh, AJ Styles doesn't seem as insufferable as he normally does.
Really?
I think you're going to say that, yeah. No, I've never said that, but I'm saying you are going to potentially say that. It was, I mean, I feel like, I don't know, I'm a documentary guy. I think the WWE Network should be pitching more people on their documentaries. Like, if you get the WWE Network was a trailblazing thing. When Vince McMahon decided to make this app and make it a subscription base, this was back in the day before anybody else did it. He was called an idiot. You're going to ruin your business. You're going to do this. Then they get 2 million subscribers paying $9.99 a month for this stuff. And they're like, you get all the pay-per-views. You become a network subscriber. You pay $9.99 a month. Instead of paying $59.99 per pay-per-view, just pay $9.99 a month. You get it for the network. And he was called an idiot. Now everybody's going to this model. Everybody's going to a subscription model. And I think what's on there that's most important or impressive to me is all of the documentaries. There's so many behind-the-scenes things that are just great. And this last ride was one that I think everybody should watch. At Tone Diggs, what do you got going on? How's your weekend, buddy?
Weekend was great. Watched some AFL, some EPL, the RBC Open. It was a good sports weekend. I mean, it's starting to slowly come back. But it's enough sports to fill the day where you can sit there and have it on in the background. It's a nice little.
Who won the golf thing?
Webb Simpson.
They had a delay, right? They had a delay midday.
Yeah, and then CBS cut it off. It was weird.
And then he had to go to the Golf Network, I believe. Yeah, the coverage is very interesting. And you made this gripe last week that I think a lot of people did. There'll be golf on, a tournament will be on, and you go to the Golf Channel, and they'll be doing a show from the course that the golf is happening. But for whatever reasoning, rights-wise, they're not allowed to show the actual action. They're just allowed to talk about it. But the golf isn't on any other channel. It really makes you want to almost punch the television sometimes. But I like the fact that they were able to move that thing over to the Golf Network. Webb Simpson picks up a big dub. Good for him. I saw our boy Brooks Koepka was starting to take
off. Nice little
tournament,
yeah.
Yeah, he was getting hot there. He missed a putt by like 45 feet the first day, and then he just powered it right past the hole. It looked like me out there. And then they said he had like 9 pars and 9 holes. Webb Simpson comes in 22 under. Abraham Answer, I don't know who that is, 21 under. Daniel Berger, he's on quite a run.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did he shoot under par all 4 rounds?
32
So
now.
he's at 32 rounds in a row under par. Good for him. Remember, Tiger during the Tiger Slam was at 52. So if he can do 5 more weeks of tournaments of being under par every single round, he'll catch up to the Tiger Slam. Still an impressive feat here, 32 straight. He's at the top of the leaderboard when it comes to that. Tyrell Hatton, 20 under. Sergio Garcia, hey.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about old regrip Serge, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's still golfing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the big thing with Serge was he flies with Nick Watney to, I guess, every tournament, and Nick Watney tested positive for COVID on Friday, so I guess Serge was a little bit worried, but it turns out seems to be okay.
He said, hey, listen, let's go play golf with everybody else. Maybe everybody else will get it. Is that what he said?
I think so.
The golf. I enjoy golf in the background. Now it's going to get forgotten about in the fall. If all these sports come back how they're supposed to come back, golf is going to get forgotten about. The Masters are going to be in the middle of potentially college football, maybe an NHL Stanley Cup playoff game, and an NFL. I mean, there's a lot that could potentially be in there, but there is not much better than, especially after Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, and to the moms that had to play fathers, and to the stepfathers, and all the fathers. Happy Father's Day. Shout out to all the fathers. Hope you had a great day. But after you eat and just have a cheat day for the first time in like a month, and then you lay down on the couch and you have golf on in the background, there is nothing better than that nap that you get right there. It is beautiful. Oh, he's hit it very well. It's just, and then you wake up for like holes 15, 16, 17, 18. You're like, all right, we're back, baby. Here we go. Golf has been able to make things happen. It feels like a lot of other sports are starting to fall into a problematic situation of maybe not being able to bring things back. I'll be intrigued to see how golf was able to do it, but a lot of these other sports are potentially not going to be able to happen. The bubble rules, I think. Listen, Foch. We didn't need Foch popping off. The NBA is going to happen. Okay, it is by all accounts. Wendy was on ESPN this morning. He said, listen, there's going to be some players that don't go. There's going to be some players that choose not to play in the NBA July 31st Dome down in Orlando for the COVID championship. There's going to be some players that don't go because of the COVID-19. There's going to be some players that don't go just because they don't want to go. There's going to be some players that don't go because they're worried that they won't be able to be a part of the social justice movement enough while they're being locked. There's going to be players that choose not to go, but the NBA is going to ford the river. They are going to make this happen. They've put a lot into this. They've rented out hotels at 4 different places. They have Disney workers who won't be breathing the same air as the players going in some places. The NBA is going to happen on July 31st down in Orlando. It's just with what players will be playing. Are we going to see Jackie Moon down there? Chocolate Black going to be coming in from the rafters? Is old Johnny Moxley? Ed Monix going to be coming down there. Who's going to be playing in the NBA thing, or is it going to be me? We're not 100% sure, but the NBA is going to happen. The PGA is happening. The MLS July 8th is happening. That schedule is terrible. I don't know how the MLS players are going to do that. They are being very safe, but that thing's going to be terrible. So sports are coming back. It's just whether or not who will be playing in the sports when they come back. At Ty Schmidt, you went to Topgolf this weekend. You think you got sneezed on by anybody with COVID?
No, they actually have a pretty good setup there. They have they've made it so like all the bays are pretty zoned off. Like you don't really have to worry about anyone being next to you or anything like that. They're doing it right, and they need to because every bay was jam packed.
Yeah, that place is packed out. They were on the news yesterday morning. I think trying to maybe promote the place was open. And the news lady was like, we're at Topgolf. They got all the bays up there. The workers all had masks on. The workers wearing masks. They're safe. And then they said, so come on out and have a good time. And then like a second later, they're like, the line is already down around the building. It's like, so you don't come have a good time then because it's already booked out. That place is always packed to the gills in there.
Yeah, we had to make a reservation like on Wednesday of last week, and they don't let any walk-ins. So you have to have a reservation. But there were a lot of people showing up, just kind of sitting in the lobby there, which I'm guessing they don't want.
Yeah, I'm guessing that could potentially be the COVID zone. But this office has a great history of being very stupid. Right, I think this particular office here has a incredible history of just being we have the dumbest show on the internet daily. Okay, we have a lot of dumb ideas that pop off up there. But and I might be dumb for saying this. I feel like everybody's going to get COVID at some point. I feel like there's a chance that everybody's going to get COVID. I mean, the way these numbers are coming out with COVID and the amount of tests that are available for everybody to find out they have COVID so we can take care of it immediately, which is great that we have that. I feel like there's a chance that we are going to be in a world that is very much like the flu. Like the flu comes around and it is not good. You get the flu, you're sick. Sometimes you pass away from the flu. The flu kills people every single year. I feel like we're going to get to a point where the COVID-19 is potentially just going to be a part of our everyday rollicon. Lexicon, Rolodex. You get it. Same thing. Dumb show. I feel like that is potentially going to happen. It's just whether or not I'm right in saying that or if that's a good or absolutely catastrophic thing for our society. I'm just not sure.
Well, and you also wonder what it's doing. Like when you go to a certain place and it's like, okay, well, 75% of the people here aren't wearing masks and 25% are. So like, is that really even doing anything? Like if you're going to do this, like everyone either has to go in the same direction or it defeats the purpose.
I was driving yesterday or this morning next to a guy that was driving with a gas mask on in his own car all by himself.
Smoking?
Nope. No, not a smoking gas mask, like a painter.
Oh yeah,
Painter one?
Like a painter mask in his car all by himself. And I was like, all right, at least that guy's all committed. I mean, he's all by himself, and maybe his air conditioner was out this weekend on Topgolf, potentially got COVID-19. But I don't think a lot of the masks that people are wearing, I don't think they're masks that block anything anyway. So you might be able to. It might make you feel better to put like a T-shirt over your face or something. But I think. Dumb show. Once again, have not done enough research. It just feels like a lot of these things are contradicting each other. And I think we're going to have to get to a point where it's like, hey, this is going to be a part of this is going to happen. Now, Phoenix right now is at a yodeling. A lot of the new cases are coming fresh out of Phoenix, and we can tell you why. Phoenix did not believe in the COVID-19 ever.
From the get-go.
Ever. But after talking to Dr. Myron-Roll, who just, he actually cucked me in the Monday Morning Quarterback blog that Peter King once asked me to write, and then he kicked me out of writing it for some reason.
Oh, no.
He said, hey, will you write for me? I said, yes, I'll do that. June 22nd. And then, like, 14 days ago, he was like, I want to see what you're writing. It's like, well, we're nowhere near June 22nd yet. The world could potentially change by then. He was like, well, I'm going to have to go a different direction. I said, do it. And now it's Dr. Myron Roll, our guy. Happy he wrote there. But talking to Dr. Myron Roll, he was like, listen, we are in a much different spot now than we were. When COVID-19 came, we kind of had our pants down. We had no idea what it was. Now there's an entire system in place to take care of it. It's just like, okay, how do we move along with knowing that and also knowing they could potentially take people out? I don't know what the fine balance is going to be, because you got one side saying, we're safer than everybody else. We're going to look out for every single life. And then you get another side going like, yeah, but our life is kind of burning down because we're not allowed to do anything. So it's like, okay, when are these two going to come together? We don't know, and that is an interesting thing.
And as far as sports coming back is concerned, you could be on the side where everyone's going to get it, or you could be on the side where you're over precautious, and whoever that person is at the top of that sport making that decision, whatever side they fall on, that's how that sport is going to either come back or not. Like, it's going to be based off of one person and their thinking on this.
And if it all goes to hell in a handbasket, that person never gets a job again doing anything. We told you, and you just had to have your little sports back, didn't you? This is what happens. And then if nothing goes wrong, that person's like, am I running for president? Am I running for president of the United States? I think there is going to be two very distinct. I mean, and if you watch anything about anything with this weekend, it was nice to kind of turn off and separate from the world for a little bit. Golfing, then Father's Day, then hanging out, a little bit of golf. But if you watch anything, there's always two very different viewpoints on it. Same subject, two very, very different viewpoints. And now it's like, all right, I guess time will tell who's right here. But we're currently living through the time where we have to figure out who's what and who is right. And you could see how people get a little bit stir crazy and antsy to get things back. But boy, if football doesn't happen,
oh no.
No, don't worry. I heard the virus can't live in football stadiums.
Oh.
Breaking. The COVID-19 does not like American football. So
the lights.
Yeah, the lights are too bright. The sport is too serious. The NFL's medical doctor said, hey, Fauci, you do yours, we'll do us. Okay? Pipe down, Fauci, we'll do whatever we got to do. Then now the NFLPA's doctor, which I didn't even know existed. What does that guy do? Nobody knows. I have no idea. Have I ever said like, oh, my knee hurts, let me call the NFLPA's doctor? No, never did that. Maybe a second opinion. Maybe they're part of like setting up a second opinion, because a lot of players back in the day, and I assume now, I'm not 100% sure, never happened to me, but doctors were telling players lies to get them back on the field faster instead of taking care of their health. I'd assume that's what the NFLPA's doctor is there for. Other than that, I'm not 100% sure. He came out and told guys not to work out in groups anymore because COVID-19 breakout. It's like, is that the right answer? Just what? We got to lock these guys back down again? I don't know. I don't know how this all plays out. I feel like nobody has a clue. Everybody's just kind of shooting. Everybody's just kind of shooting in the dark, just hoping that they're right, because in the end, they're going to get judged for it. And everybody knows that.
I'd be excited to see if Tom follows.
But is that Dr. Thom?
Dr. Thom.
Oh.
Dr. Thom. Is that who you're referring to?
No,
you're talking about Tom Brady who had the entire Buccaneers front office down in that high school. They basically made Buccaneers HQ down there. And by the way, remember, the park coordinator kicked Tom Brady out. He went to this high school, and this high school was like, listen, I don't care what Dr. Thom says, all right? Or Fauci. You guys do what you got to do. The Buccaneers have stunk for a long time. We want to get back in this thing.
If that's the case, are they just going to start? Are they going to close facilities then too?
I'm not sure, because I think that I think that doctor potentially at one point. I don't know who that doctor is. Okay,
Something named Thom.
It's a potential power move.
Thomas.
Left side.
Yeah, it's
Damari Smith is the head of the NFLPA on the right side. Dr. Thom there is on the left. He said that guys should not be working out in groups. It's like, okay.
All right, Thom.
So what's going to happen when training camp's supposed to happen here? July 28th. Well, the NFLPA must be saying, well, we're not going to do it then. This must be the NFL. So the NFL comes after Fauci, okay, and says, listen, Fauci, our doctor, the NFL's doctor, who, by the way, I have no idea what he does. I have no clue what that doctor or she does. I have no idea what that doctor does. Could never guess. Who knows? Are they in there because Dr. Will Smith came through with some information? Nobody knows. They say, hey, Fauci, we'll take care of it. That doc's been, by the way, the NFL's doctor's been on a little bit of a press conference tour here. He's saying, hey, we'll be able to take care of it. Now you got the NFLPA doctor saying these guys shouldn't work out in groups. This is setting up, by the way, for a July 28th, training camp coming. This is setting up for another. That's what this is. This is putting your feet down or digging your feet in a little bit to say, this is where we stand. This is where we stand for a potential situation, much like the NBA is currently having with the NBA players on getting back into this whole thing. That's what that is. If I had to guess, I'd say that's what that. I mean, you literally just saw me work it out here as I was going because I didn't fully think about it enough before we got on here. But that's exactly what that is. That's the NFLPA setting themselves up to say we're not 100% sure if this is safe because we had already said that our players should not be working out in groups. This is all just because there's a chance that there's a potential conversation coming. And by the way, probably should come. Let's just hope that they come to an agreement and say, hey, we're some of the healthiest, fittest places on earth. We can get a director of hand sanitizer in here as well if we need it.
Do you think that there will be some players that end up sitting out this season for the NFL?
I have no idea. I couldn't even guess.
Yeah.
I'm not in there, right? I'm not currently in the Zoom meetings. I don't know how the Zoom meetings are going. I'm not sure how the conversations, group text messages are going. I have no idea how the actual players are feeling. Because you got to remember, the NFL is much different than the MLB. The MLB right now, the conversation's revolving around how many games, prorated salaries. That's all guaranteed contracts. The NFL is not guaranteed contracts, and you have no idea when your career could potentially end. So if the NFL says, hey, this is when this is happening, you could sit out if you like, but we'll go forward without you, everybody that's an NFL player knows that the NFL means that. Like, the NFL is 100%, we do not care. We will move on without you. That is, the NFL has proven that. The NFL has shown that. Colin Kaepernick was Super Bowl quarterback, see you later. Doesn't even get workouts after. Like, the NFL will and has moved on from people. It's not a right, by the way. It's a privilege to be in the NFL. That is very much how the people in the NFL act and say, and it's real. They will move right on. So I don't know if players will be like, yeah, I'll sit out because COVID-19 or social injustice. By the way, the NFL might be currently working with the Players Coalition to figure out how they can put a spotlight on social injustices more. I'm not saying they're not. But if there was a player that said, like, I'm not going to do it because of this, I could very much see the NFL going, good. Do what you got to do. We don't care. We'll do that. That's how the NFL operates. Yeah. That's how the NFL always has operated. And I am still very much firm that we will not see a single interruption to the NFL season. Maybe no fans in the stands because of not being able to get legislation, or maybe as the numbers continue to go up, and maybe they'll have an idea where they line the field with Zoom calls like the Danish soccer teams did after my idea. Maybe they'll do something like that, or maybe they'll be able to, but I don't think we'll see a single change in the season because the NFL owners are very much like nothing's going to stop us from doing our thing.
Shefty said this morning that potentially the Hall of Fame game between the Steelers and Cowboys may be canceled, but that's not a disruption.
Let's just go ahead and cancel that for good.
Yeah.
Let's just go ahead and cancel that for good. I respect that there's an extra preseason game. It brings more attention to the Hall of Fame. But why not do like an alumni skills challenge or something? You know? Like, maybe let's bring attention to Hall of Fame weekend without having to put on a trash football game for people to watch for the first game. You know what I mean? And I got somebody that tweeted me who was like, you and AJ Hawk were talking bad about the Hall of Fame game. Is that because you guys will never be getting in the Hall of Fame? First of all, I think if they were to go back and watch my film, maybe in a few years, there's a chance that a conversation could be had by me because I played a lot more positions than just a standard punter. But I'm not planning on going in first ballot, maybe 50th ballot. I'm still alive. Maybe I get in. But I'm not. That's not what it's about at all. We respect the hell out of the Hall of Fame. I watch those speeches. I enjoy it. I think it is the top of the top. That's why I think the Thursday game is such trash, because it is such a trash football game. It kind of takes away from the Hall of Fame almost, as opposed to anything. But it does give people an opportunity who don't normally get an opportunity to get on field and get some film. But at that point, teams are putting together their rosters. It's a stupid game.
What skill challenge would you want?
Staubach and
I would like to see two of them debate. I would like to see a debate, like a Billy Madison trivia debate thing from a couple of GMs.
Business ethics.
Maybe like a NFL trivia with a couple of the GMs that are in there.
That'd be good.
Maybe let's get Brett Favre out there slinging the rock around. You know, I'm just
longest ball.
There just has to be something that you could do to bring more attention to the Hall of Fame as opposed to the Hall of Fame game. But the Hall of Fame game is something that has become a part of our seasons. It'll probably not happen if I had to guess. But will the Hall of Fame speeches happen? What are they going to do with the Hall of Fame speeches? Is it just going to be just a guy up on a stage? Yeah, is it going to be a virtual speech? I don't know. There's a lot to figure out. But I don't think the NFL season will budge. I think we will see the NFL season happen. There's a lot of people saying it won't, and I can understand where those people are coming. But then as soon as you just start thinking about the humans that are in charge of the NFL, you quickly go, those dudes aren't budging on anything unless they're forced to. But who would tell them? Who's going to tell 31 billionaires or 30 billionaires and Davis family and then the Packers, right? Who's going to tell them not to do it? The government, I guess, would have to be.
I don't think they're doing it.
I don't think government's going to tell them because right now we're in the middle of an election. I mean, this is so much bigger than anything. Let's just assume the NFL goes on as is. 23 minutes after the hour, we have to get to a break. Amanda will have a lot of info about this. Will be joining us on the other side. Andrew Brandt, Business of Sport, former front office executive for the Green Bay Packers. Used to work with Michael Jordan's agent way back in the day. He currently has a podcast called the Business of Sports Podcast. He's a columnist for the Monday Morning Quarterback, which I could have been as well, but I got kicked out. And he's an executive vice president for Vayner Sports, Gary Vaynerchuk's sports agency. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. 24 minutes after the hour, let's get to a break. Can't wait to talk to him. I don't think the NFL is going to budge, and I would assume he's going to say the same exact thing. Even if all signs point to them budging, the NFL is going to go ahead and just lock it down. Red Rover, Red Rover. Don't send any of your BS over. 24 minutes after the hour, this is the Pat McAfee Show.
Last night I was roaming around Canal and Bourbon, and it was a lot of purple. And when you get in that Mercedes-Benz Dome, and it starts getting loud and it gets rompous, obviously, not only for momentum and swings like that it can help, but for the defensive line to get a jump. I think that is a big deal. A lot of freak athletes on the field, and kickers are a spectacle no matter what happens. Whenever you're in those high-pressure moments, you normally fall back on your fundamentals. You normally fall back on your technique. You try to take your brain out of it. Cade York hits a beautiful ball.
One person up in the parking garage.
And think about him warming up right now. There's just three dudes in suits breaking down every single move he makes during his warm-up. What a wild scene here for Trevor Lawrence.
Quarterback, number 9, Joe Burrow.
You're supposed to be some draft expert, and you say Joe Burrow was a 5th-round draft pick before this year. Now he's number 1 overall. What do you know? What do you know, Todd? Tim, you are so handsome, it's ridiculous. What do you think has been happening in this first quarter? Why has Joe Burrow been stumped by this Clemson defense?
I think Brent Venables is the best DC in the country, and it's honestly not a shock to me. He did this to Tua last year.
Odell Beckham just stopped by.
Odell's very excited.
Odell's happy with the 52-yard attempt coming from the kid from Clemson. I've seen Odell make this with a spinning ball. And B.T. Potter puts it through from 52 in Odell's. Not in your face. It wasn't in your face. It wasn't in your face. You weren't looking at it.
That's a career high for B.T. Potter.
Bro, imagine Joe Burrow just having to stand in there and know that Isaiah Simmons is scot-free right in your suckle. That's a bad call. No chance Alberto Riverrod would turn that over. He was in the Buccos organization.
show. It is Monday, June 22nd. Joining us in a few moments is Andrew Brandt, the man who runs the Business of Sports podcast. He was once an executive for the Packers, and he's done a lot of great things. He will talk to us about the state of the world. I don't believe the NFL is going to budge on anything. I just don't think they will. The MLB commissioner, Rob Manfred, sent a letter to the MLBPA offering to cancel expanded playoffs and universal DH for 2021. The players had planned on voting whether to accept 60-game season or allow Rob Manfred to impose a season of his desired length. There's a lot of things still cooking between the MLB and the MLBPA, and I'll tell you what, none of it seems good. They seem to have taken a step forward because at Rob Manfred's request, at the commissioner of the league's request, he and Tony Clark spoke in Phoenix last week for the first time in however long in the middle of this public drama. They had a conversation. Rob Manfred said that he reiterated the outline to Tony Clark, which, by the way, any good negotiation is not going to say that one person's telling the other person how it goes, how it is, do this. It's just getting uglier and uglier. And to discuss with us the MLB, the NHL, the NBA, the MLB, and everything that's happening right now. And if you follow his Twitter, he says, hey, the business of sports always wins in the end. Science can tell you whatever. The league can tell you whatever. The players can tell you whatever. But at the end of the day, the business of sports is always the focal point that is going to get something done. Ladies and gentlemen, the host of the Business of Sports podcast, Andrew Brandt.
Yeah! Attaboy!
Attaboy, Andrew.
Hey, Pat. Great to be with you.
I can't thank you enough for joining us. Let's get right into it. Rob Manfred has handled this like an absolute buffoon. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's always the blame is going to go with the owners in these kind of things because it's their game. They're taking the risk. They look at it as the players need to share our pain. We have a lot of pain coming up because of no fans in the seats. Let's start back at the agreement in March, Pat, because I'm a lawyer. I've read this agreement. You could argue both ways, which means either bad lawyering or good lawyering. Because you can read it as the players get prorated pay. Or you can read it as the owners only agree to this if they're fans in the seats. And this is where it all stems from. So they've had the back and forth. It's been contentious. And now it looks like the owners are kind of running the clock. So the most they can play just physically to get it done by the end of October is 60 games. So that's where we are right now. But listen, the players understand they have a little leverage here. If he was going to impose the season, he would have done that already. The only way he imposes the season is he doesn't get the waiver on the lawsuit, the grievance that they did negotiate in good faith, and the playoff system they want. So the players have a little bit of leverage here. But listen, the question to me, Pat, is whether we're going to come out with a 60 game or 62 or 65 or 58. Right now, we're there, basically. It's just standing and pointing, not talking to each other and pointing fingers.
But, Andrew, isn't the job of the commissioner to kind of be the guy who goes to the owners and goes, hey, let's try to get this done? And isn't he supposed to go to the players and say, hey, let's get this done? And hasn't he done the complete opposite of that? Doesn't it feel like every time he opens his mouth, he almost makes it go a step backwards? It feels like Rob Manfred is the least polished commissioner in the history of commissioneringship. It really does feel like that's the case.
You know, here's the problem. I think half of what you said is true. And unfortunately, the other half isn't. Really, the commissioner works for the owners. He's reporting to them. That's his constituency. It's fun to say he cares about the game and the players and all that, but really, he works for the owners. And I teach commissioner power in law school. I understand it. Everything is about the owners. They hire, they fire, they set his pay, they set his report card, if you will. This is clearly true with Goodell, who's sort of lived on this, taking the bullets so they don't have to. And I think that's a lot what's going on here. I think the owners are pushing Manfred to make a really tough deal. And he is the messenger. Now, he's a smart guy. He's doing his own negotiating, but they're pushing it. So this sort of euphemism that the commissioners are for the good of the game, I don't know. One exception is Adam Silver, who we can talk about. I think he's much more player-oriented. But other commissioners, pretty much, it's owners, man.
Okay, so we'll talk about Adam Silver in a few, but let's talk about the NFL. Yeah. have a very firm belief that no matter what happens, no matter what Tony Fauci says, no matter what anything else says, the NFL will figure out a way to go about having their season without any interruptions. Now, maybe there'll be no fans in the stands. Maybe they'll have to adjust that way. But when it comes to Sundays in the fall, there will be NFL games because that's how the NFL owners operate. Am I wrong in thinking that?
You're not wrong, but for the first time in the last couple of days, Pat, I've had questions. Now, before I say that, you're right. Full speed ahead, draft. They signed a CBA before the pandemic even hit. Draft, free agency, schedule release with no contingencies. They made a schedule with no contingencies. How about that? So they're full speed ahead. They're going back to work today in the office, I just saw. But listen, we can't dismiss Fauci. He's talking about, okay, they're not going to be in the bubble like NHL, NBA. That's a problem. Think about it. If they're not in the bubble, they're not only interacting with their locker room, which is already jam-packed, but they're going out to family and other interactions. And we have all these positive tests coming in. We know about Zeke Elliott and Vaughn Miller, but we don't even know about these other ones. And they're not even practicing. So the problem to me is, this better than I do, you can have 100 pages of protocols, but none of them are going to say this is how you play football, because football is contact. It's the opposite of social distancing. And I just wonder if they're here's where I just wrote about this for Sports Illustrated.
Ooh.
We hear the number one priority or highest priority of the NFL, back from concussions, is player health and safety. If that was true, they wouldn't play. Okay? If that was really true, they would not play. This is a highly virulent, transmissible disease. They would not play. It is not true. It's not true.
We know. It hasn't been true, though, for years. They play on Thursdays, got to play on Sunday. Yeah. They only came out with the health and safety thing whenever Dr. Will Smith came out, and then that kind of disappeared.
As I said, as you noted, the business of sports always wins. Listen, my point is we're adults. We get it. You don't have to lie to us. You can say we're mitigating the risk of health and safety with this virulent disease as best we can, but we are not going to disrupt a $15 billion business. We get it. We get it. I get it more than anyone. So listen, I just think we have to be honest about health and safety being a number one priority, because it's not. If that was the case, they wouldn't play. That's true for all leagues. All leagues.
Okay, let's talk.
If that was the case, they would not play football this year, or basketball, baseball, hockey.
Let's talk about the NFLPA's doctor that I didn't even know existed. He come out now and said that Dr. Thom, he said, do not work out in groups no more. We are recommending that our players do not work out in groups anymore because of the increase in COVID-19 cases, in more words than what I just said. Do you think that's potentially a play for the NFLPA to put their feet in the ground right now saying, hey, we've been telling them not to work out together, and then whenever this July 28th date comes for the training camp, are we potentially going to see the same type of thing that's going on with the NBA and the NBPA right now whenever it comes to player safety and conversation? And is that why the NFLPA doctors come out now and said, this is where we stand on it, because this is inevitably going to become a much larger conversation as we get closer to the training camp?
Absolutely. And you know my saying on Twitter, there will be lawyers. There are going to be a lot of lawyers involved here. I have team executives from the NFL telling me they're wondering about waivers. They're wondering about waivers because of liability, and not so much liability of the player. As I said, the player is going to go home. They're going to be at-risk people. And what about, God forbid, a player infects an older relative who something drastic happens and the team has liability? So I'm looking at the issue of waivers. I'm looking at the issue of opt-outs. I think there are going to be players, NBA, NHL, soccer, football, that want to opt out. And some have reached out to me through DM on Twitter. And my first question is, are you okay not getting paid? And they say, why can't I get paid? Because I'm fearful, because my wife, because my grandmother, my wife's mother lives with us. All these kind of things are going on right now, and I'm really wondering how this is all going to be handled, because people aren't thinking through, all these tests. And the other thing Dr. Tom Mayer, who you referenced, said on a conference call was, people think NFL players, big, strong, healthy, are armored up against this thing. we have a lot of African Americans, we have a lot of high BMI measurements, and we have a lot of sleep apnea. Those are 3 disproportionate impacts we've seen with the virus. That's a problem. And what also concerned me, Pat, is that I read Von Miller, it was kind of a throwaway article somewhere where, like 25 days after I recovered, I'm still feeling it. And I've got wind capacity issues. And I'm like, really? Von Miller? Like, this is a problem. Am I saying don't play football? No. What I'm saying is we've got a lot to accept here if we're going to go forward.
And I think that's what's going to happen with the NBA, right? The NBA is going to do this down in Orlando on July 31st. They are going to have the tournament. It's just whether or not who will join them. That's going to be – because Brian Windhorst was on ESPN this morning, and I think he talks to a lot of players. He said that there's going to be guys that say no because of COVID-19. There's going to be guys that are saying no because of the convenience part. There's going to be people that are going to say no because of the social justice movement they want to be a part of. There's going to be guys that say no, and the NBA is like, we're still going to do this with or without them. Do you think the NFL potentially does that same type of mindset?
Well, the NFL has the luxury of watching and observing all these other leagues, especially the NBA. What I'm really interested in is Adam Silver was on ESPN on that commissioner thing last week with Mike Greenberg, and they asked him about opt-outs like you're talking about. And to me, again, a lawyer, he seemed receptive. He seemed to be in the camp that if they want out for social unrest, if they want out for physical health, it sounded like he was receptive to that. Now, I don't know if that means they necessarily get paid or they have a doctor's note or whatever it is. But if that's a precedent, I don't see how Roger Goodell can then say, well, that's basketball. So we may get into that whole thing about what are the opt-outs? What is the procedure? What's the process? What's the policy?
Andrew, what's the real money? Bottom line, let's say there's no fans for NFL for the first 8 weeks. Okay, 8 weeks of the 17-game season. Financially, the numbers that were getting thrown out there by Schefter, that was a couple months ago. Like the amount of money that they said that they could potentially go out on is massive. But the TV rights negotiations are still coming up at the same time. So with the TV rights negotiations, which goes into a large part of the players' cap and the players' money, but without the fans' money, what does the salary cap look like next year in 2021 if there's no fans for half the season, but the TV rights deal is still negotiated? Does that have a fall drop-off, or do you think it kind of maintains?
Let's look at this. So first on baseball, what they've been fighting about all along is they say 40% of their revenues is based on game day. 40%. So they're not going to have fans. They're not going to have game day revenues. They're losing 40% of their total revenue.
A lot of beers watching baseball, by the way. A lot of beers. Those were long games.
Football, because of the immense size of national TV, that fact that teams get $270 million before they turn the lights on. Football revenues for game day, the best I can come up with is about 20%. So where Schefter was coming up, I think, too high with a number like $5 billion, I was saying more like $3 billion, because if you have $15 billion total, you take away 20%, that's $300 million. Now, if it's half the season, half that, $150 million. It's going to be reflected in the team cap for next year because the way the cap is allocated and calculated, it's for the next season. So where I'm suggesting is what's going on in baseball is going to happen in football. Not to the contentiousness, not to the degree, but I see it happening. I see Roger Goodell coming to D. Smith and J.C. Treader and saying, do you really want a cap in 2021 lower than 2020? That doesn't look good for the players. Now, you can explain it away with COVID, but I see them getting into 2020 cap to smooth it, i.e. lower it, so that you actually have a stair step in 2021. No one knows what the revenue loss is going to be, but in projecting it out, we see people like Schefter and Ian Rappaport talk about a loss of $40 million in cap room per team. I don't think it'll be that, but they want to get ahead of this. I think they should.
Do you think that's why Dak Prescott signed his $31.4 million guaranteed? Because he has no idea what the money's going to look like going forward after this year?
I think that's part of it. If I'm working for the Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Texans, there's no way, I did this for 10 years, there's no way I can say, let's go commit to Mahomes or Deshaun or Dak right now. You can't. You can't. So I'm looking at it from the other side, from the team hat. You can't. The only negotiation we've had this offseason really is McAfee. And everybody is like, I don't know. We're not going there. We don't know what 2021 is going to look like. We don't know what 2020 is going to look like. And I think Dak and I think Deshaun and Pat Mahomes actually gain leverage by waiting, so it's good for them too.
If they play well and not get hurt, obviously.
Andrew, you just talked about potentially lowering the 2020 cap. How does that work for teams like the Chiefs who had $500 worth of cap space recently? How does that? Do they place a rule where teams are allowed to be over the cap since they're lowering it this late into the process?
Well, they're obviously not going to say it's lowered and then tomorrow you got to get under. They're going to give you time, but I just think like every year, COVID or not, high-paid veterans are at risk. And this league, that. They're getting younger and younger. Rookie contracts are taking up now 50 to 65% of NFL rosters.
Jeez.
So that's going to be played out. We see it every year. Veterans getting cut. There may be more coming up this offseason.
Andrew Brandt, every time I talk to you, I feel like I get smarter. You can check out his podcast, Business of Sports podcast. You can read his stuff at MMQB. He's executive vice president of Vayner Sports. This man's got more jobs than me somehow. It's because he's got a big, big, big old brain. Ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Brandt. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Beth. Always enjoy it.
Yeah, cheers, man. We got to get to another break on the radio. 45 minutes after the hour 2 has started here. Monday, June 22nd. Wild time to be alive in the sports world. NFL will happen, but with who? NBA will happen, but with who? The business of sports always wins. This is the Pat McAfee Show, June 22nd.
This is Remember the Titans. How's it going? My name is Pat McAfee. I do a lot of things. Today I am a professional analyst getting ready for the Thursday night football opener in beautiful Nippert Stadium with the Cincinnati Bearcats here at Higher Ground. This secluded world. Good squad, good place, excited for this morning practice. I'm obviously unbiased, but I'm pulling hard for Cincinnati to do well on Thursday night.
I like to say, all-in clipboard quarterback, man. This is awesome. And we got hopefully a future NFL kicker. Let's see what you got. Come on.
This is great for the brand. This guy's an athlete. Athlete. Hey, let's go. Let's go.
They say kickers are athletes. We'll find out. Let's go.
Pull it up. Heads up. Heads up. Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for hospitality. Have a great day. Let's go get away. 1, 2, 3.
I'ma close the case. I can't wait no more, man. I gotta blow today. I'ma blow today. I ain't hearing what they say. Need a blue face. I've been caring about a race. I've been trying to eat. I need more than just a taste. Now they trying to talk. Oh no, they should know their place. Man, I'm ballin'. This ain't cap, baby. Now I feel like calling. From the O, but I got the music poppin'. All the time, man, it started to get obnoxious. Now I gotta drop down, feeling nauseous. Gotta drop top down, then I hop out. I've been feeling hot now.
Thank you.
Okay, let's definitely ask.
Yeah, you got it.
Appreciate you coming.
Thank you. This has been so cool to see. Whenever we were driving out here into the sticks, my boys and I from Indianapolis, we were told by Coach Fickle it was a 40-minute drive from where we live.
absolute lie. Hour and a half out here. But as we were getting out here, we didn't know what we were going to show up to. And this is such a cool scene here. I remember whenever I was in college, we won a lot of games, beat Cincinnati a couple times. It was a great day. But I remember my boys, right? Like I still am in touch with them every single day, every single week. We had this moment where we went from boys to become men. And you guys were a really young team last year, but got to experience a lot of wins. Like now the expectation level are high. And I can't wait to talk you all up on Thursday night against UCLA. UCLA refused to respond to my tweet. So I am a Bearcat fan on that opening night, and I cannot wait to watch you guys dominate. And I think this is such a cool thing. Coach, I can't thank you enough for your hospitality. I got a bunch of swag from you guys, too. This has been a cool day. Enjoy this, though. This doesn't happen a lot. Even when you get into the NFL, it's not like college. It's not like your boys. It's not like this. It's a whole different world that you'll remember forever, and I was honored to be here to watch you today, and I can't wait to watch you guys go win the thing on Thursday night and then throughout the rest of the season. Thank you so much. Cheers, boys. Thank you.
1, 2, 3.
Hello, America. If you're listening to the show right now, I want you to take a second. Look down.
Zito, Z. We got a lot of listeners, especially in Australia.
Come
right
on,
now,
Z.
too.
Oh, that was just a radio ad.
You're right. You're right. Everybody close your eyes if you're on YouTube. Just act like this isn't for you. This is strictly for radio.
And everyone else in the world.
I don't know if they ship everywhere in the world, actually.
Oh, jeez.
Good call. You were right, actually. I think you were actually right.
Wherever Manscaped ships to.
Wherever Manscaped ships to.
There it is.
Oh, that is what this ad is, by the way. I'm going to go to some talking points real quick here. Manscaped is the only men's brand dedicated to the below-waist grooming and hygiene. Manscaped has forever changed the grooming game with their Perfect Package 3.0 Essential Kit. The perfect tools for the
family jewels.
Thanks, guys. The Perfect Package 3.0 comes with a new improved Lawnmower 3.0, waterproof cordless body trimmer, and tons of other liquid formulations to round out your Manscaped routine. I'm going to call the action real quick.
Hey, do it.
Baby Z.
Thank you. Get 20% off and free shipping with code AMERICA at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code AMERICA. Your partner, your body, and your balls will thank you.
You're damn right. Shout out to Manscaped. Getting through. We got like 2 minutes left. Zito, great read there by you, bub.
No, it means a lot. Thank you.
We talked about everything. Webb Simpson won the golf tournament. Good for him. Dallas Goedert got punched right in the suck hole in South Dakota, Aberdeen, South Dakota. It was 1:07 a.m. Let's assume everybody there was pretty intoxicated. I hope he heals up before the Eagles season gets started. They already lost an offensive lineman. Now they got guys taking fists in the middle of bars in Aberdeen, South Dakota. Goddard, originally from North Dakota, went to South Dakota State, though, has deep relationships in the Dakotas. The man to punch him in the face was from Florida, though. Don't know why he was visiting South Dakota, but got in there, swung a right, blindside, cold clock, cheap shot, knocks out Dallas Goedert. Hope he's okay. The ESPYs were last night.
Oh, yeah?
Did you guys watch?
Nah.
Okay. The MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred sent a letter to the MLBPA offering to cancel expanded playoffs and universal DH. We just talked to Andrew Brandt, Business of Sports podcast host. He said that he's read through the agreement that happened in March, and he said he didn't know who had the right leverage here, depending on how you read that contract. That's very interesting because I just assumed that it was prorated salary regardless. But he said if you actually read through there, there's a chance that the MLB could say, since there's no fans, this particular contract is null and void. Who knows what's going to happen with them? The business of baseball has been much more interesting in the sport of baseball to me for the last couple of months. Happy we could talk about that. Noose found in Bubba Wallace's garage. We think the person that did that wants to get caught to be a hero. They will. We should all get a chance to kick them in the ball sack. Jamal Adams is trying to get to the Cowboys. NFLPA medical director tells players not to work out together. We think that is a play. So July 28th, when training camp starts, they can say that we've been against this for a long haul. Dak signs a franchise tag. Excellent AFL weekend. This was a daily sports show. 1 o'clock, we're back with McAfee and Hawk Sports Talk. We can't thank you enough for joining us every single day. We're on the road to 1 million subscribers here on YouTube. Come and join us. This has been the Pat McAfee Show, Monday, June 22nd.